How's it going, everybody? I've never done this before. This is a live. Thanks for subscribing to my page. I mean, right here, these whitetails right here are what this page is about. Whitetails, land, and life. Um, what I would really like to find out is how I can interact. So if anybody is out there paying any attention, um, I would love to find out if anybody's there. If you can comment, if I can see it, right? Because that's the big deal. Um, how somebody can find out about us. If you don't know who I am, my name's Chris Brackett. I do a podcast. I sell land in Illinois. I develop land all over. I'm a consultant where I travel to pieces of property across the Midwest and down to Oklahoma, Texas, out east, and then I set up properties knowing that what the client is looking for is going to come down to a few things, which is they are going to be looking for um, what the most juice for the squeeze on the property. Some people are looking to make a property that's not only beautiful but really easy to hunt with food plots and food and how to access and knowing that the westerly winds coming across the Midwest and most fronts with high pressure is coming. They're going to want to, find out either if they're buying a piece of property, like what is the best property to look at? What are those acreage? What does that acreage look like? Is 100 acres the best? Is 500 or 1,000? Can you get away with a smaller piece of property? And if it butts up against a big piece of woods, can you bring those deer out to, like in my theory, one of the best places to buy is a piece of property that you could enter from the east, which is a couple pieces that I own. Big blocks of timber. You can house those deer on the westerly, north, and southwest side of your farm. You can get them up, bring them through switchgrass, bring them through clover plots, green plots, grain, and then out to grain plots like corn and beans. I call those hard crops. Um, Clover, brassicas, alfalfa. Bring them through the greens out to the bigger, hard sourced uh, food plots, and then off into the distance, which is like out into these thousands of acres of ag fields where the deer can get away from predators. They can get out and they can roam and they can stretch their legs and they can do what deer do. Deer are probably more like elk than most people give credit to them for. They really do like to go out to a pasture and they go out and out into the world where they can see cars and they're not messed with humans in the middle of the night. And I find that to be one of the keys to success of growing a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year old whitetail. And those deer have to go out and they have to socialize. And then as that sun is coming and that dawn is going to break, those deer start heading back into the cover and back to the west. They've got the wind in their face and they're headed back. And then how they traverse through what I would set up as deer traps and how they traverse through your property um, while not getting your wind as the west wind comes through it, west, north, northwest, southwest. And then those are like my main principles. And then most people want to know like what does pH do in the soil? Like how do we grow food plots and how do we grow switchgrass and miscanthus and um, clover, alfalfa, compaction rate, pH has to do with the acidic, acidic in the soil, and like how do we make that better? How do we grow better crops for the deer? Is just a lot of people thinking that corn and beans growing in the summer but not being left is enough food for these deer. It's just not in the year 2024. It's just not enough. And all of this is what I love to talk about on my podcast, The Brackett Show, and Land Life. My website's Go Land Life. Consulting is probably one of my most favorite and rewarding things because not only do I get to talk about whitetails, I get to talk about land, I get to talk about life, strategy, and educate people in the fact that how many different ways there are to plant food plots and how many different strategies there is with different um, different bows or slug guns or rifles. How how does the knowledge of one in 2024 with all of the technology, how do how does that affect the new hunter? How do how does the outdoor television and the YouTube hunters of this world that have it a lot easier than a lot of us growing up back in the 80s where we didn't have trail cameras and we weren't efficient in a lot of the ways that can make a hunter nowadays very, very efficient in that they wait on a trail camera picture to go in. Food plots are a big thing. In the 80s, you really didn't think of it. I mean, the really smart guys were leaving beans and corn, but nowadays that is normal practice. For every 60 to 100 acres you're using, every 60 to 100 acres you're using 3 acres of what I call standing hard crops, beans, and then corn, sometimes sorghum, uh, that they're feeding the deer, making sure that big animals like this guy right behind me right here, he weighed 254 pounds. He was over 310 pounds live weight. And that was grown on my own farm at 5 years old. That animal made it to that, and he did it by having all the food he could ever imagine, from the greens and the clover, the stomach, and the uh, four chambers of the stomach that the deer has, and how they chew their cud, and how they process the proteins, and how they process the um, uh, just all of their food, and how they do it in a non-stressful environment. Being able to never have to worry about food, water, and little uh, pressure from humans. All they really have to worry about is coyotes, disease, and to let an animal go ahead and have that kind of freedom, to that we get to enjoy them from afar downwind and let them do deer stuff. That is the key to everything that I teach and everything that I do. And so if you're just coming across this live stream on YouTube, please give us a follow and a subscribe to our page here, Chris Brackett. And I'm going to be dropping brand new um, episodes that have never been digitally put out on the planet, and that's going to be Aerofliction 1 through 4 are going to be the most recent ones that are going to drop right after this. I'm working on them today. I have all kinds of hard drives here. I'm going to be putting up Aerofliction, Fear No Evil, and you guys are going to get to see the award-winning shows right here on YouTube, free of charge. Um, and hopefully you'll go find more about me and my brand and what I do at golandlife.com. If you want to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, you can look up Chris Brackett's Land Life, and we hope to see you there. I really appreciate you guys. Anybody that's tuning in, everybody sees this, share it, post it, and it's just a little look at who I am and what I do, and you're going to see a lot more. Thanks. Appreciate you.